Welcome to Series 2 of the Understanding Boys podcast. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. In Series 2, we speak to young people about life and their stories. What do these boys and girls think it is to be a good man these days? And if you had a story that you could tell an adult and they'd listen, what would that story be? In these short interviews, we explore these questions and much, much more. I'm Dr. Ray Swan and I hope you enjoy Series 2 of Understanding Boys. I really enjoyed today's conversation with Taj. He talks a little bit about what he wants to do with his life when he finishes high school and some of the things he's learned about himself whilst he's been in high school. We talk a bit about boys and why they test themselves and test boundaries. And he tells a fantastic story about the importance of being seen. I hope you enjoy the conversation today. Great. Well, Taj, thank you very much for your time. Welcome to the Understanding Boys podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, year 11, you're sort of in your VCE years and you're heading into the sort of the pointy end of things. Have you got any idea at this stage about where you want to go or what you want to do?
Yeah, so my subjects all kind of evolve around, I do PE 3-4 now as a year 11 and psychology and health and all that. I kind of like the idea of being a PE teacher at a school, secondary, and I like that because I think there will be, I like sport a lot, obviously, and I can teach. I'm already an assistant swim teacher, but being a PE teacher would be cool. And then I've got other subjects in the humanities area to gain an edge so I can become better at teaching, like business management and all that. But I think when I'm older, be a PE teacher would be very cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I know lots of teachers. I reckon you're talking to a teacher, of course, so I love it. That's fantastic. Great to hear. When did you sort of get that feeling, that you wanted to teach? What was that about? Well, PE is obviously a heavy interest of mine, but becoming a teacher, I like sharing knowledge and helping out people. So, especially doing PE year early as a subject, I would always be helping out my friends and all that. And it's only just become really more apparent and clear of why I want to become a teacher is because I found I was quite good at giving over advice and helping and guiding people, making them better, if that makes sense, yeah?
Totally, yeah. No, I get it. It's a great, very satisfying and...
satisfying.
Yeah. So tell me a bit about what you're doing with your swimming. I mean, obviously you're not at the moment because, when we recorded this, it's coming out of COVID, but...
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about your swimming, when you've been doing your swimming coaching. What's that been like?
Yeah, so I work it's a learn to swim centre, so I deal with young kids up until, I don't obviously handle with them, but babies up until year 6. And that just went back last Saturday, but even that's not really fulfilling, handing over, because I used to swim, not anymore, but when I was a bit younger in squads and all that. And just handing over knowledge to them has been really good. It's fun working with them, but I think I would prefer to work with older people, not so much that young, but it's good to see what it's like working with young kids. And they're good. They like me. They find me really funny and approachable, which is cool.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and it's so important, isn't it, to be that person in somebody else's life as well, someone who can, saying here about, you see the good in somebody else and that can really draw it out of that other person, and then they start acting in a good way and it's I told you, that's good.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously you love your water and you love your water sports, and I know you're a keen surfer, and you probably surf a lot more than what you can in year 11.
Yeah.
What led you into that sort of a sport?
Surfing. Well, as a family, we would always go up the New South Wales coast. We've been up there quite a few times. We've been lucky. We go in our caravan, And obviously we would go camping near the water and surfing, and Dad would always surf. He'd always been surfing, and he kind of just taught us and led us into it. And then, the more times we went up, the quicker we grew and started surfing. And then probably when we were actually the whole time we would surf down here in Phillip Island, and just growing into it and being surrounded by it. I like the water and having family around, and it's been fun they've been supportive in the water, and it's just it's like you feel free out there, and it's fun. It's just really fun and cruisy. No one to tell you what to do out there. It's really fun.
Yeah.
You can do your own thing.
And that sense of freedom is obviously important to you.
Yeah, it's just good to get away from it all, and you do it with your family, which is fun. We go with Jet, my brother, and Dad. It's really fun. Yeah, love it.
Is there one of the things I know when people sort of talk about the surf culture is like that element of risk? Is the risk part of it part of the appeal?
Yeah, of course there is. Getting an adrenaline rush, and that's really fulfilling. You might take a big wave or go to just to do some thing that you've never done before, you can't do. And what's good in doing that is taking a risk. Say you can't really in footy take such a great risk because people are relying on you, if that makes sense, in a game of footy. Whereas surfing, you're free. It's just you. You can do your own risk, knowing that what the worst that's going to happen is you're going to fail and you learn from it. And then, of course, the reward is nailing it and knowing you can do it again and push harder. And, I think basically taking the risks without the risk of much failure is really good because it's just you. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's great, mate. I love hearing your philosophy on that and just that desire to push yourself and to test. Is there something about testing boundaries? I know for a lot of, us older folks, we forget what it was like to be young. And, I just wonder, you see a lot of people, whether it's skateboarding or surfing or, BMXing, and there's kind of a bit of a thing around that. Is there something about kind of, understanding yourself by approaching your limits or something like that?
Yeah, so whenever you're approaching your limits, you know how far you can go for next time, which is always good to know. And there's no boundary to your limit. You can push your limit further and you can make it go further, and that in itself is fulfilling. But pushing the boundaries is really satisfying, and it makes you feel full and happy.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about a time where maybe, talk us through, one of the best waves or one of the things you've, really landed where you've just, I think you used the term nailed it before. When did you nail it last?
Last time, when did I nail it? Okay, so 2 weekends ago we went down to Phillip Island and we surfed this break called Surfy's Point, which I haven't surfed it before. And it's it's a point, but it's a big reef shelf, so it's all rocky and all that. And we went with Dad and Jet and Mum, and we took our dog, so it was a good family day there. But the waves were probably set waves were 6 foot, and I caught this one wave. It was probably the first or second wave as well. I hadn't really gotten a good knowing of my surrounding environments yet because I hadn't caught that many waves there. And I caught this wave. It was probably a 5-6 foot wave, and took off deep, so I was close to the rocks.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I nailed the bottom turn and did a good top turn carve. But what was cool was the wave started walling up on the shallower reef again, and Dad was paddling out, and he saw me tuck into this little barrel close onto the rocks, and I came out of it and, nailed it, and Dad saw it right in front of me, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
That's probably the last time I nailed it.
Yeah. Well, that's 2 weeks ago, and it's not exactly identity. That's fantastic. I love it. And that image of your dad, hopefully not in the way, in enough of a good space you can see
Yeah.
without, having to go around him. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the things, I'm really enjoying hearing you talk about, your challenge of yourself, and obviously, you're someone who's challenging yourself. You've kind of got a bit of a sense of direction. You want to help other people. I mean, these are all really good things. It's fantastic to hear. Obviously in this podcast, we talk about what it is to be a good man these days, and I think it's probably fair to say that you get lots of messages about how you should be.
Yeah.
Without necessarily talking about what you think yet, because I'm keen to get to that. But what are the kind of the general messages that you get around being a man these days?
Obviously, like the basic stereotypes of what should be a good man. Like, they're obviously the ones where like men should be tough and all that, but that's obviously changing in this day and age. But I think what the main stuff we get told is being respectful, which I think is a really good one. That probably be one of my most highly recommended things that a good man should have a good quality is respect for everything and everyone. But the other stuff that we get told would be, like, I can't think of many at the moment, but your basic stereotypes, like a man should do this and this and this. But what I like is how that's changing and adapting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you get those messages from? Like, where do you experience those messages mostly? To TV, movies?
Yeah, media, teachers, your grandparents as well, because they're a bit older, so they're obviously going to know a lot more of the fundamentals. But then again, they would maybe, what you might say, like stuck back in the time, but they're good at teaching you good fundamental stuff. But you obviously got to take that on board. But there's that the new age type of stuff coming involved, which they're not most like adapted to. But the main stuff, the stereotypical stuff, would be from like your media and maybe, all that type of stuff that you're exposed to on TV and online and all that.
Yeah. And something like respect, you're talking about that being the number one. I mean, that's not a new thing, is it? I mean, your grandpa.
No, that's an old one. So that's been, I would say I've heavily learnt that from Dad's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been really good at that, being respectful, showing good manners, and respecting everyone and everything.
So if I was listening and I was thinking to myself, okay, it sounds pretty good. Why though? Like, why is respect important? What would you say?
Showing respect, I think, makes the other person feel like that they are valued. They can take more interest in you knowing that you care for what they've done or what they are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Great answer. Profound, actually. Yeah, really cool.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. One of the other things that I was interested in, and I've spoken to other people, and we talked, in the podcast, we talk to people all over the world about, boys and growing up and all that. And I hope you don't mind me asking a slightly personal question, but at some point, to be successful in being male, and you may disagree with this, but at some point in being male, there's this decision you make about how you relate to other people. And it's like you kind of have to relate in a certain way, but not in another way. Like you got to kind of narrow the field of how you relate to people. So it's like to fit in, you kind of can't be a whole bunch of things. It may be as men we are, like, more relational or more emotional or those sorts of things. Do you reckon in this day and age that's still true?
To some point, yes, because there are a lot of people who show what it's like to be successful. And of course, the basics and the basis of it, it's always good to relate to them in that. But then again, there's your own, how you make it your own way is a part of that success.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of where, that's where it's leading to. What else was there? Sorry.
Just sort of saying about the idea that, you know, to be successful as a man, like you can't be too emotional, you can't be too, you know, express your
yeah, I like it how it's changing now. That's obviously one of the stereotypes from a while ago. Like, you got to be tough, men don't cry, all that. I like that a lot, how that's changing, because it's obviously not true. Mental health is obviously a massive thing. It's growing. The more people that come out, the better, and relating to them is a good way to relate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So when you see someone like a footy player come out and sort of talk about their personal, difficulties or challenges, whether it's you or your mates, how is that sort of received by the boys these days?
That's really good, because mental health is such a broad spectrum of it. So the more people that come out, there's a more chance that they could relate to something that has happened to you or to someone you know. And you might not even think, I've got this, but that's nothing. That's not mental health or anything. But then this professional or an idol comes out and says this, and that they've been suffering from it, and it is affecting them, and it is mental health. That's really good for someone who might have had something that's like not quite what you would say a normal mental health issue. And it's good for them that they can relate and know that, that's okay, that I'm feeling this. It's good. And I know that it's happening to other people. It's not just me. And it's always good that there is help out there. And this guy's such, like, what the status he has being so high in, like, for footy, for instance, like, it could be like some Brownlow medalists has just come out saying, during this year, all these pressures have added to my mental health. And even the small things that person might relate to, it's really good that they feel that what they're feeling is okay and acceptable. And the more that do that, the more chance of it becoming open freely to everything and everyone.
Yeah, and I'm reminded about what you said earlier, when you're talking about respect and how, if you show respect to people and what's happening to them, they feel valued and seen.
Yeah.
And how important it is, just like that image of, you getting barreled and seeing Dad see you, like, it kind of makes a confirmation, doesn't it, that this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about the future, just generally speaking, would you say you're optimistic about it, or are there things that you're worried about?
Yeah, so generally I'm very optimistic. That's just always been what I am. Of course, there are your worries and concerns, but I always like to think that, there's going to be those worries, and some of those worries are always going to come true. There's nothing, you just can't hide from that. But, being optimistic, I think, is the way to go, because if you look and see that the good things are there, and the more good things you see, the more likely you are to achieve the good things.
Yeah. And those things like we see in the news, the climate change and, all the other issues, how do you how do you and your friends kind of see all that? Are they things you want to get involved in, or that you want to go out and change as part of, your adult life?
Yeah, of course, because we are the ones who are going to change it. Like, adults, they're not, they can start to change it, but we are the ones who will change it, because we will grow up into that. And if we can start taking these actions now and earlier, it's like we have a sense of, like, a power that we can change it and help and make it better. And it's almost like a responsibility for us younger people to do these changes, because we are the only ones who can make it better in the future, starting now.
Yeah, it's great words. And my last question today, Taj, I really enjoyed our chat, is If you had a story and you could tell an adult and they'd listen, what would the story be?
Okay, so the story I would say was, the moral of it would be, let your child guide them, but let them make the ultimate decision. Like, you can guide them, but if you let them make the choice themselves, knowing that 100% of it was that they were the only ones that inflicted that choice, let them do that. If it's wrong or right, it'll be more beneficial for the child or kid. And for my story, this would be, I was under 10s or under 9s or something doing life-saving nippers, and it was the state final carnival in Lorne. And the waves, Dad said the waves in Lorne were he's never seen a lawn that big before. And the particular event that happened was in the board race final, which is where you've got these big nipper boards and you just paddle out and around and come back in. And they were all on a line waiting to start, and they wait for a lull in the waves so all us little fellas could get out there. And they did, and we all got out the back, and I was at the back of the pack, and this the first set wave it just started to roll in, and we all kind of just made it over, right? But then the next one was even bigger, and because I was at the back, all these other kids had just made it over. Some of the other people got clipped by the lip and do this technique called an Eskimo roll, where you roll and hang off your board when the wave breaks on top of you, upside down in the water. And I did one of those, and I was in the worst spot you could be, and the wave just picked me up and I lost my board, and I'm out the back probably 100 or something meters out the back as a 9-year-old in this massive surf. And I see all these other kids who are paddling around, they've just made over, and all the other kids have got their boards. And I was stuck there without my board, right? And I'm out the back and I had to swim in, obviously, and none of the rescue people came in to get me because I was in such a bad impact zone with the waves. And I came in, swimming in as this 9-year-old, crying my eyes out in front of all these people because it was the final. And I found my board washed up on the beach, and if one of the officials touches your board or helps you in any way, you're disqualified. And this is the best part. I remember seeing Dad is guarding my board, saying all these officials are coming to pick up my board to get it out of the way, and Dad knowing full well that I would get disqualified if they picked it up or touched it. So he's standing there guarding the board, pushing them away, chasing, saying, don't touch it, leave it, don't help him. He's pointing to me saying, don't touch him. And I'm crawling on the sand, crying, running, going to grab my board. And yet the best thing was just seeing Dad pushing all these officials away, saying, nah, don't touch the board, let him pick it up, he can do what he wants with it. And all these people were watching, right? And by this stage, all the other kids in the race had gone around the last buoy and were coming in, and I'm still on the beach. So I pick up my board, and Dad, the best thing was I see Dad, he's pushed all the officials away, and he looks at me, and I'm looking at him crying, and he looks at me, and he's like, it's your choice, you do what you want. And that was a really defining moment, because my choice, I grabbed my board, and I went straight back out to finish the race. And as I got out the back, I knew, I was like, all right, I've made it out the back. I'm not coming back in now. All the other kids had finished and crossed the line. So I paddled around the back, ran in dead last by probably 5 minutes. And, Dad just came up to me, hugged me. I was like, yeah, you made the right choice. And when he said I made the right choice, it was my choice that I made myself. And the thing was, he guided me by teaching me all these morals and all that. And then by him pushing all the boards away, it was I knew he was doing that so that I could go back out there. But he did not say that I should go out there. He said, you do what you want. He didn't even say anything, just looked at me and went, like that, just shrugged his shoulders. And yeah, the best thing was it was my choice that I made it, and that was a real defining moment because as a 9-year-old, I know if I could do that as a 9-year-old, I know I could do anything I wanted to and make a good choice at it. Yeah, that's my story.
Love it. Love it. It's like I could see it in a movie. It's that good.
Yeah.
Fantastic story, Tash. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
It's so great to to be doing these interviews and just be hearing people's thoughts and yours today. A man of values and care and compassion and consideration. You're a warrior. You charge out. You've got the world at your feet. It's a great pleasure to talk with you, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We hope you've enjoyed this Understanding Boys podcast. Make sure you subscribe on your podcast app, and please leave us a review to help grow the community. For more information about the podcast, please visit understandingboys.com.au. Until next time, thanks for listening.